Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Sign into Reaper of Souls at the beginning and harvest like crazy. Chapter 61. For one day, Uchiha Matsuzaki and the others were on their way. It's already dark, let's take a rest and stay here for the night. We will arrive in the Kingdom of Darkness in about an hour tomorrow. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the evening sky, stopped and said to Kurizuki and the others. I can finally have a good rest. I walked all day today, and now I feel like my legs are no longer my own. Yes, I haven't rested all day. I can finally have a good rest tonight. We can go to the Kingdom of Darkness tomorrow. We must find a place to sleep well when we get there. The three girls sat down at this time, and then said with smiles. After arriving in the Kingdom of Darkness tomorrow, I really need to have a good rest, but it won't be that easy next time. And we've all arrived at their place. It's definitely not going to be easy anywhere. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the three girls and said. After hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki said just now, Li Zishui and the others felt that it made sense, and finally nodded. Actually, it's nothing. When we get there, we won't become the enemies of every one of them. And they may not recognize us. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at them, and then said with a smile. That's not necessarily true. When we go out to perform a mission this time, people in that place must be aware of it. No matter what, everyone should be careful this time and make sure to go home safely. Uchiha Matsuzaki put his equipment aside and looked at them and said. Now they are getting closer to the Kingdom of Darkness. They will have a rest tonight and can arrive tomorrow. The most important thing they need to do now is to take a good rest and recharge their spirits. I don't know if anything else will happen tonight. I hope I can spend the night safely. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and then said. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Even if they attack us, we can still get rid of them all. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said very gently. Uchiha Matsuzaki smiled slightly after hearing what Kurizuki said, and then nodded. They spent the next time setting up the tent and taking out all the food they would eat tonight. What you are eating here now, I will set up some equipment around it. That way, if someone comes, they can know in advance. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood up and looked at them and said with a smile. Okay, let me tell you, as long as you are here we don't have to worry about anything. And you are the strongest in our team. As long as you are here we will be fine. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded after hearing this, and then left here. Just right here, 20 meters away. If someone comes, they will be able to know in advance. This is also the safest way. Uchiha Matsuzaki came to a distance of 20 meters from their camp and then looked around and said. After saying that, Uchiha Matsuzaki took out a very secret fishing line and arranged a circle. And these fishing lines are covered with bells, which cannot be seen if you don't look carefully. As long as someone passes by here, they will know it immediately. That's good. As long as someone passes by here, they can know it immediately. The way things are now, there's a good chance they'll attack us. If we don't install some devices, we are likely to be attacked at night. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the device he had arranged, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki will be very careful and cautious no matter what time he is. This is also one of his strengths. Only in this way can he survive on the battlefield. After a final check, Uchiha Matsuzaki slowly returned to their camp. Matsuzaki-kun, have everything been arranged? After Li Zishui saw Uchiha Matsuzaki coming back, she immediately came to his side and asked very kindly. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded. Don't worry, don't you still believe me? These things are very effective. After saying that, Uchiha Matsuzaki and Li Ziyu sat next to the fire. That's good. I'm very relieved. Let's start eating now. I haven't had much rest today, and I'm very tired now. After you finish eating, sit for a while and then take a rest. Li Ziyu took out the food and gave it to Uchiha Matsuzaki. Yes, we worked very hard today. We walked all day and didn't even get a good rest. To be honest, my legs are a little sore now. When Uchiha Matsuzaki took it, he looked at them and said with a smile. Matsuzaki, you must have a good rest after completing this mission and returning home. You have to rest for at least 5 or 6 days. Otherwise, I'd be sorry for my actions over the past few days. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Depending on your potential, after this mission is completed and you return home, other things may happen. And as members of Anbu, we must always remain on task. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi and teased. Li Zishui and the others also laughed at this time. The atmosphere between the five of them together is really great. To be honest, I don't know what we are going to experience in the next few days. As long as we work together, we will definitely overcome all difficulties. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said after taking a few bites of food. Don't worry, we will definitely not be held back this time, and after such a long period of training, our strength has also improved. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said very firmly. Captain, so are we. We will never hold you back. And we'll try to help you. Hua Wu and Ling Sao also said with smiles at this time. They are in a very strong mood now, after all, Uchiha Matsuzaki is by their side. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at each of them and smiled. Okay, I also know that it's very difficult for you. But I still believe in you very much, after all, we have been together for such a long time. I know very well how strong you are. This time, you can really help me with a lot of things tonight. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said. After receiving Uchiha Matsuzaki's affirmation, each of them had a smile on their face. In their hearts, Uchiha Matsuzaki has already become their role model, and they must follow his footsteps at all times. Matsuzaki-kun, what do you think of the strength of the people in this country? Li Zishui suddenly remembered something at this time and said. Before coming here, the fourth Hokage gave me something. You should take a look at it now. Uchiha Matsuzaki took out the pamphlet when he spoke. Now your strength should be able to compete with them, and from what I saw before, their strength was relatively average. There are only a few people who are very strong, so you don't have to worry about leaving them to me. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the pamphlet in his hand and said. After saying that, he gave the pamphlet to Li Zishui, and then they started to read the things on it. Uchiha Matsuzaki took advantage of the fact that they were silent and opened his god's eye to see if there was anything going on around him. There is nothing suspicious within 20 meters around. It seems like there should be nothing wrong now. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and thought silently. The four of them, Li Zishui, looked a little solemn after reading this booklet. I have to say that the people in this place are very powerful. It's true, at the beginning, the strength of those people was still very ordinary, but as time went on, their strength became stronger and stronger. Now it suddenly feels like our strength can only help the captain hold off those who are weaker. The three girls looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. Actually, you don't have to do this, as long as you save your lives at that time. With my strength, none of these people are my opponents. If they go together, it will still be a little troublesome. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said. But I am not alone in this mission. As long as you are here, you will be of great help to me. After Li Ziyu and the others heard what Uchiha Matsuzaki said just now, they nodded with smiles on their faces. We can successfully complete this mission in one day. So let's do our best together. Li Zishui looked at them and said with a smile. Come on. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said with a smile. As long as a few of them have confidence, this is a very good thing. On the battlefield, if the mentality collapses, it will also mean that there is no hope. Everyone has almost eaten. Let's put these things away. After cleaning up, sit here and talk for a while, and then it's time to take a rest. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood up when he spoke, and then began to pack the things here. Li Zishui and the others also started to help pack things. Time passed slowly. After cleaning up, they started to do it again and started chatting. It will take a long time for them to perform this mission, and during this time there will be no help from anyone, and they can only rely on the five of them. This mission is a huge breakthrough for them. After experiencing this mission, their relationship will deepen and grow. When talking, Uchiha Matsuzaki probably showed a smile to each of them, and he himself was very happy. After all, it is really not easy to have such a mentality at this time. Matsuzaki-kun, who will be on duty tonight? You guys will be on duty that night, why don't we girls be on duty tonight? Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. No need, Yamamoto and I will be on duty tonight. This will allow you to have a good rest. After all, you are girls, we boys can't use up all our physical strength. And the two of us also take turns on duty. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said with a smile. That's it. Well, then, you can have a good rest after you get there. Now I just hope nothing happens tonight, so that every one of us can have a good rest. Li Zishui looked at the sky, then put her hands on her face and said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Li Ziyu and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. I have to say that it is the greatest honor of my life to get to know you. I really hope I can be with you every day in the future. Even if I die, it will be worth it. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Li Zishui and thought silently. In this way, the five of them sat here and chatted for a long time, and soon it was time to rest. Ding dong. Suddenly, a sound came from the equipment that Uchiha Matsuzaki had just installed. There's a situation. Everyone, be careful, Uchiha Matsuzaki said to several of them immediately, and then took out the weapon. At this time, Li Zishui and the others also took out their weapons and looked around very cautiously. Eye of God. After Uchiha Matsuzaki opened the Eye of God, he observed the surrounding situation and found that this time it was a bit serious. There were almost 20 people surrounding them, and these people all had weapons in their hands. It seems that this time should be their last stop. Uchiha Matsuzaki thought to himself. Everyone, be careful, there are almost 20 of them this time. And these people are not too weak. It seems that they don't want us to reach them in the first place. Uchiha Matsuzaki whispered to the few of them. So many people don't know how to do it. Li Zishui looked around and said in disbelief. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to deal with this time. Everyone must be careful. Uchiha Matsuzaki clenched the weapon in his hand and said softly. Soon the enemies were in front of them. This time there were 20 of them. Everyone has wuching in their hands and their expressions are very cold. It seems that this time he wants them all to die. I didn't expect that the five of us would be taken so seriously, and that so many people would come to deal with us. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the enemies around them, and then said with a smile. Kid, you must be Uchiha Matsuzaki. Among the enemies, a red-haired woman looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. Oh, didn't you expect that I am so famous? Even you all know who I am. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the red-haired woman and said with a smile. Now that I've found you, there's no need to talk nonsense anymore. Keep this kid alive and kill everyone else. The red-haired woman ordered her men at this time. Uchiha Matsuzaki was simply in a state of confusion after hearing what he just said. Why do you want to keep yourself? You are really weird. If I don't even know who you are, why are you going to kill me? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the red-haired woman and said. Kid, just take care of yourself. You don't need to know these things. Today is the day you die. The red-haired woman said coldly at this time. Do it. A moment. A dozen enemies began to attack. Although these enemies are very strong, Uchiha Matsuzaki and the others are not to be bullied. Everyone, please be careful and don't hurt yourself. After Uchiha Matsuzaki said this, he followed them and started to fight against these enemies. Li Zishui and others also showed firm expressions at this time, and started to deal with the enemies with weapons. Although these enemies are very strong, they are still very weak despite their strength. Li Zishui and the others were able to kill them all without using all their strength when dealing with these enemies. Uchiha Matsuzaki was also quite powerful at this time, simply killing 5 or 6 of them. The red-haired woman no longer remained calm after seeing her teammates die one after another. It's really abominable. Come on, too, the red-haired woman said frantically at this time. The enemies who launched the attack this time were very powerful, but after all, they were no match for Uchiha Matsuzaki and the others. Thunder escape, fire escape, wind escape. A moment, Li Zishui and the other 3 girls used their own ninjutsu to deal with these enemies. These enemies are also very strong and can resist all these ninjutsu. Uchiha Matsuzaki saw that there were no problems with the 4 of them, and then he came to this woman. Now that all of your men are almost dead, why don't you take action? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the red-haired woman and said with a smile. I didn't expect you to be so strong, kid, and that your teammates are also so strong. It seems that there are big loopholes in the intelligence this time. But even so, you won't be able to leave here alive. The red-haired woman looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki in front of her and said with a smile. It seems that they will definitely win this battle. Take the move. Fire escape, flying fire meteor. The red-haired woman instantly jumped into the air, formed seals with her hands, and summoned many flaming stones to hit Uchiha Matsuzaki. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at these flaming stones and calmly raised the weapon above his head. That's it. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at these flaming stones, held a weapon, and quickly split them all. Come again. After seeing that her attack had no effect, the red-haired woman instantly became angry, then took out her weapon and rushed towards Uchiha Matsuzaki. Table tennis. Uchiha Matsuzaki and the red-haired woman fought together for an instant. Each one's attacks are no weaker than the others, and no one shows mercy. The two weapons collided together, making a ping-ping-pong-pong sound, with sparks popping out from time to time. After the two of them fought for a few minutes, the red-haired woman gradually couldn't keep up and was now at a disadvantage. Uchiha Matsuzaki took advantage of the opportunity and kicked her in the abdomen, then kicked her away. After the red-haired woman landed, she spurted a mouthful of blood from her mouth, feeling extremely painful. Kid, I didn't expect that you could push me to this point. It seems it's time to give you a little color. The red-haired woman stood up with great difficulty, looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said harshly. Then, he took out a bottle of potion from his collar, pulled off the cap and poured it into his mouth. Gudong, gudong. After 2 or 3 sips, she drank the entire bottle of potion. Is this true? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the potion and instantly thought that the enemy he had dealt with before had used the same method. It seems that this thing is indeed in their place. After 3 seconds, the red-haired woman's body gradually returned to its original appearance, and her physical strength returned to its peak. Ha ha ha, this feeling is so good. Now my whole body is full of power. I want to tear you to pieces. The red-haired woman looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and laughed heartily. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki also noticed that this woman was completely different from before. I didn't expect that this potion would be different, but the effect is the same. Uchiha Matsuzaki was still struggling with this potion at this time, and did not take this red-haired woman seriously at all. Kid, suffer death. After saying that, the red-haired woman disappeared instantly and rushed towards Uchiha Matsuzaki. So fast. Sharingan. After Uchiha Matsuzaki felt that the situation was not good, he instantly opened his Sharingan, but in the end he was punched by this woman. Boom. Uchiha Matsuzaki flew backwards, but because his physical condition was very good, he did not suffer much damage. Good guy, this thing actually works so well. Are they also mass-produced? After Uchiha Matsuzaki stood firm, he said with a smile. After saying that, he directly attacked the woman. At this moment, the two of them were fighting each other with fists and feet, not giving each other a chance to breathe. Rachel. After keeping the distance, Uchiha Matsuzaki used his ninjutsu, and then attacked the woman. Uchiha Matsuzaki was so fast that the red-haired woman left a burnt mark on her abdomen without even noticing. You left such ugly scars on my beautiful body. Today I have to destroy you, little brat. The red-haired woman looked at the burn marks on her stomach and said angrily. You are the only one who can be called beautiful. You are really shameless. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the red-haired woman and said with a smile. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki had already felt that this woman's strength was inferior to his own, and it was not a problem to deal with her. Court death. The red-haired woman was instantly angered by Uchiha Matsuzaki's words and slashed at him with her own weapon. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood there and looked at her calmly. After she got close to him, she used her Sharingan to easily dodge the attack and kicked her weapon away. The red-haired woman was stunned at this moment and did not see Uchiha Matsuzaki's movements clearly. In the blink of an eye, Uchiha Matsuzaki clenched his fist and gave her an uppercut. The red-haired woman was punched by Uchiha Matsuzaki and flew into the sky, with a mouthful of blood spurting out of her mouth. Finally, he fell freely and fell heavily to the ground. The red-haired woman's jaw had been dislocated and she was in great pain. You're so weak, but you still want to come here for a head-on confrontation. I really don't know what you're thinking. I don't know if you have any stronger people there. If it's like this, it would be really boring. After coming to this woman, Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at her and said with a smile. The red-haired woman couldn't speak at this time, because her entire jaw had been dislocated, and it would be extremely painful to move it. Forget it, I see you have no way to tell me, so I can only get rid of you. It seems that all your teammates have been eliminated by my friends. You really failed this time. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and the others, and then said with a smile. Li Zishui and the others have now become very powerful and can take care of all these people. Uchiha Matsuzaki picked up the weapon and placed it on the red-haired woman's neck, and then gently moved the woman's aorta to separate it. In the blink of an eye, the red-haired woman lost her life and fell to the ground motionless. They stopped us again and again. It seems they really have a lot of secrets in that place. Now I'm also very curious about what hidden secrets they have there. Uchiha Matsuzaki put away his weapons and looked at the corpse on the ground, and then said with a smile. Li Zishui and the others had already dealt with all the remaining enemies, and then they would be together. Matsuzaki-kun, are you okay? The woman I saw just now is quite strong. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki in front of her and said very worriedly. Don't worry about me, don't you understand? Those people can't do anything to me at all, and I have already dealt with them. But I still want to praise you. Now you are able to face these enemies independently, which is pretty good. Uchiha Matsuzaki showed a very pleased expression, and then said to them. No, we were taught by you, how could we let you down? Wawu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said very happily. This time the four of them have realized the importance of strength. If you don't have enough strength on the battlefield, you can only let others slaughter you. Only strong strength can ensure your own safety. According to my guess, this should be the last obstacle for us to get to them. But I'm really curious, why are the people they send so many times so weak? If that's the case, there's only one very reasonable explanation. That's what they don't know about us. Uchiha Matsuzaki said thoughtfully at this time. The others also felt that it made sense after hearing what he just said, and nodded. It can indeed be understood this way. If they knew us, they would not send these weak people to stop us. Li Zishui frowned slightly at this time, and then said. The other three people also felt the same way at this time. We can reach them tomorrow, I'm really a little excited. Yamamoto Takeshi looked into the distance, and then said with a smile. To be honest, I'm quite excited. After all, this is the first time we have left home and come to such a faraway place. Wawu looked at Yuan Chu and said with a smile. Okay, let's deal with these things first. After we're done with it, let's go back to our camp and have a nice chat there. I didn't expect that they would make such a fuss, but now I'm not sleepy anymore. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the corpse on the ground, and then said with a smile. After hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki said just now, Li Zishui and the others nodded with smiles on their faces. In the next period of time, they disposed of all the corpses here, and then returned to where they camped. I have to say that I'm not sleepy now. I was really excited when I was fighting. Yes, I feel it too. Our strength has become stronger now, and it is really easy to deal with them. The most important thing is that now we can really have the strength to fight against them. Li Zishui and the other three girls said very happily at this time. After Uchiha Matsuzaki saw that their current condition was very good, he nodded with great satisfaction. We will arrive at the mission location tomorrow. I am really excited now. I wonder if there will be a sign in task when I get there. Now that I am strong enough to go head to head with them, it will really be a little troublesome if there are more of them. Uchiha Matsuzaki raised his head and looked at the sky, thinking silently in his heart. After the battle just now, no one of them is sleepy anymore. And now they are very confident that they can complete this mission. Are we going to start the mission as soon as we get there tomorrow? Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and asked very curiously. We have to take a rest after we get there. It won't be good for us if we can't start the mission right away. If we carry out the mission right away, we won't be able to react. We have to inquire about their situation there and understand the terrain. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said. The girls instantly became happy after hearing these words. So that's it, that's really great. Yes, we can take advantage of our break to go shopping and see what the outside is like. This is our first time out here, so we always need to gain experience and broaden our horizons. Li Zishui and the other 3 girls looked at each other and said very happily at this time. Really? Girls are born to go shopping. I didn't expect that at this time, they would still be thinking about shopping. They are indeed girls. But that's okay. I still need to bring something for Xiaokei when I go back. Why don't you just go shopping there tomorrow and the day after tomorrow to see if there are any good things you can buy? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the 3 girls chatting happily and thought silently in his heart. Yamamoto, let's take a rest when we get there tomorrow, and then let's go shopping with them. Anyway, there's nothing to do there. By the way, I can familiarize myself with the terrain there while shopping. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Takeshi Yamamoto and said with a smile. Takeshi Yamamoto nodded after hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki just said. He also really wanted to see the difference between the outside world and his home. This is the first time for each of them to leave home and come to the outside world, and they must be very curious about what it is like. Okay, it's getting late. It's time for us to rest. We can get up a little later tomorrow morning and then we can set off. After we get there, let's find a safe place to rest and stay there for a few days. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood up after looking at the sky that was already very late, and then said to several of them. Okay, let's go to bed then. You guys can be on duty here. You can wake us up in the middle of the night, and then you can go to rest and we will be on duty. After Li Ziyu stood up, she looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Don't worry, just go and have a rest. I'm not sleepy now anyway. Just rest well. Uchiha Matsuzaki patted Kurizuki's head gently, and then said with a smile. Li Zishui's face suddenly turned red at this moment. This was the first time that a boy touched her head like this. Matsuzaki-kun, let's go to bed first. After saying that, Li Zishui immediately ran into the tent with her face red and her head lowered, followed closely by Hua Wu and Ling Sao. After seeing Kurisuki's reaction, Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at his palm and smiled. I didn't expect this move to be really lethal. Looking at his hand, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, and then he muttered softly. Yamamoto, why don't you go and take a rest too? Each of you are very tired tonight. You need to rest early so that you will be energetic tomorrow. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki turned his head and looked at Takeshi Yamamoto and said with a smile. Is this okay? Takeshi Yamamoto said in a low voice embarrassedly. What's wrong with this? Don't you still believe in my strength? I'm on duty more reliable than any of you. Just go to bed honestly. Uchiha Matsuzaki patted his shoulder, and then said to him with a smile. Yamamoto Takeshi nodded at this time with a smile on his face, then turned around and walked into his tent to start sleeping. Uchiha Matsuzaki also showed a satisfied smile after seeing each of them enter the tent and start to rest. These days are really beautiful. We must grow up quickly and become strong enough in the future. Only in this way can we keep this beautiful day alive. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the beautiful starry sky and said with a smile. Ding, host please sign in for 20 minutes. At this moment, Uchiha Matsuzaki suddenly heard the mission just released by the system, and then the corners of his mouth rose. It's pretty good to sign in and get rewards these days. It's been so long this time, so the rewards must be pretty good too. Uchiha Matsuzaki sat down slowly, and then thought silently in his heart. As he just said, the sign-in rewards these days are indeed quite good. This is also a good thing for him and can help him grow up quickly. We are about to start dealing with those people now. If their strength has not grown yet, it will be a fatal injury to them. I feel like I've grown a lot these days with them. Although loneliness can make people stronger, it is meaningless if there are no friends. Uchiha Matsuzaki just sat there, thinking about other things. There won't be anyone after that sneak attack tonight. Because no one went back to report the news. It is impossible for people there to know the situation here in a short period of time. Uchiha Matsuzaki has been sitting here waiting for more than 10 minutes. He can sign in immediately. There should be a few minutes left, and you will soon know what powerful plugins you can get. Now that I think about it, it's really exciting. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around, and then thought silently in his heart. At this time, the 4 of them had completely fallen asleep and slept very soundly. Yamamoto Takeshi was still snoring as usual, giving the impression that he was sleeping very soundly. This guy Yamamoto can sleep so soundly no matter where he is. I really admire him, Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile after hearing Yamamoto Takeshi's snoring. Ding, the quality sign in is successful, and the reward is Fire Release Impatience Flower Claw Red. While using the Phoenix Fire technique, the flames are attached to the flying shurikens, so that the shurikens are mixed with scorching heat and attack the opponent like impatience flowers scattered all over the sky. Ding, hidden reward, Fire Escape Ashes Burning. It spits out hot clouds of soot from its mouth and uses sparks to ignite them, inflicting third-degree burns on the target. Because the fire environment created by the soot cloud is spitted out instead of flames, it can remain and burn in the air for a period of time, surrounding the enemy. Uchiha Matsuzaki was stunned for a moment after hearing what the system just said. The reward for signing in this time is different from usual, there is actually a hidden reward. I really didn't expect that there would be an unexpected reward this time, and both rewards are fire escape. You must know that these two ninjutsu are very powerful. Maybe I am the only one who thinks so, Uchiha Matsuzaki said, feeling very incredible. The two ninjutsu he obtained this time were both fire release, which was really a big help to him. Ashes accumulate and burn, impatience claws turn red. These two are really good at holding back. Now I have 3 fire escapes. This way you can attack from a distance, and the second one is also very powerful. Uchiha Matsuzaki couldn't help but feel happy. He has really gained a lot this night. He is about to carry out the mission. The reward he has received now is really very helpful to him. Especially when dealing with the enemies there, they must have a lot of manpower in their territory. Now I'm not afraid of so many of them coming. I can attack a large area of them with just the second ninjutsu. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at his palm and said with a smile. Now he almost has a plan in mind. No matter how many people come from the other side, he can get rid of them all. This is his current confidence. After such a long time, his strength has also become stronger rapidly. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the sleeping group of them, and then slowly came to the side. Of course, before leaving, he also set up some devices here. As long as someone passes by here, he will know it immediately. It's very early now, so I should give these two ninjutsu a try. They shouldn't be disturbed in this place. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood in an open space, then looked around and whispered. Even after acquiring such ninjutsu, there is no way to master them without using them several times. Okay, now while they are still sleeping, let's take the time to use these two ninjutsu and see how they are doing. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and then said with a smile. Find a good target and form a seal with your hands. Fire release. Impatience flower claw red. After saying that, Uchiha Matsuzaki instantly spit out a ball of fire, then took out 5 shurikens and threw them out instantly. At this moment, the shuriken was instantly covered with flames and flew towards the target. Dang dang dang. In just a few seconds, the tree was hit instantly, and the flames burned the entire tree. Immediately afterwards, the big tree was burned to ashes. I didn't expect that the attack power is really strong. You can imagine if it is used on the enemy. Uchiha Matsuzaki was stunned for a moment after seeing the scene in front of him. He didn't expect this ninjutsu to be so powerful. If used on the enemy, the consequences are really conceivable. Sure enough, it's really impressive. Now my confidence has increased a lot. In this way, those enemies are no match for me at all. And this is a long-range attack. If the distance is a little further, it can hit them perfectly. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the big tree that was burned to ashes and said with a smile. Let's try another one next. Fire escape ashes burning. After saying that, Uchiha Matsuzaki spit out a large cloud of gray smoke from his mouth. The area is very wide, completely surrounding 3 big trees. Then with a bite of his teeth, the ashes instantly turned into a ball of fire. In an instant, all 3 big trees were on fire. This is so outrageous. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the sea of fire in front of him and said in disbelief. This was his first time using these two ninjutsus, and it was really surprising to him. This is really suitable for you to use when there are a lot of enemies. You can attack many enemies in an instant. And they have no way to escape. As long as there is gray fog, they will be buried. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the big tree slowly turning into ashes and said very happily. Now he has 2 heaven-defying ninjutsu, and these 2 ninjutsu are very suitable for fighting against many people. I didn't expect that the harvest in these few days is really quite big. In this way, the completion rate of this mission can be greatly improved. After I go back this time, I can teach them these ninjutsu. That will be very helpful to them. Uchiha Matsuzaki turned to look at the camp at this time, and then said with a smile. After watching the fire burn out, they slowly returned to their camp and sat down. At this time, his heart was already very unstable. Now I am really looking forward to the battles in the next few days. I will definitely beat them to a pulp. And now we are not afraid of their man-see tactics. No matter how many people come, they will all end up with the same outcome. That's death. Uchiha Matsuzaki sat there, then looked into the distance and thought silently. Uchiha Matsuzaki has gained a lot these days, and his strength has also become very strong. This is really a very good situation for him. After all, the enemies he is about to contact are also very strong. Matsuzaki-kun, are you sleepy? At this time, Lee Ziyu walked out of the tent and came to Uchiha Matsuzaki and said to him. While talking, she kept rubbing her eyes. Zishui, why are you awake? Nantong City, did you move too much just now? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki who was walking towards him and said with a smile. Ah, no, I just can't sleep. By the way, you just said that your movements were too big. What were you doing just now? Kurizayuki said to Uchiha Matsuzaki with a smile on her face after she came to him. Nothing, nothing. Why can't you sleep? Aren't you sleepy? Uchiha Matsuzaki scratched his cheek with his fingers and said very embarrassedly. Yeah, I don't know why I was lying there. I just woke up after sleeping for a while, and then I couldn't fall asleep again, so I just came out to talk to you for a while. Anyway, there's nothing wrong. Lee Ziyu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki with her innocent eyes and said to him. Uchiha Matsuzaki was stunned when he saw her eyes. This was the first time he saw such beautiful eyes. So that's it. Well, I'm not sleepy anyway, so I'll chat with you for a while. After Uchiha Matsuzaki came to his senses, he said to her with a smile. Lee Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and smiled. This smile was very gentle and gave the other person a kind feeling. Zishui, do you know? You are the most special person among girls I have ever met. Such a thing happened when I first met you. Now it feels like it's really fate. Oh, by the way, I suddenly remembered that you had a cold, didn't you? Why haven't I seen you have an attack for so long? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and asked with concern. Actually, I already brought medicine with me before I came here. As long as I keep drinking the medicine, I won't have an attack. And the weather is warmer now, so it's not so easy to get sick. Lee Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. Actually, that encounter made me have a very deep impression on you. To be honest, when I first saw you, I felt that your body was so thin that there was no way you could save me. But what happened next made me look at you with admiration. I've been paying special attention to you since that time, and you've become stronger and stronger. Lee Ziyu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile as if she was in a daze. Uchiha Matsuzaki blushed instantly after hearing what Kurizuki just said. He knows that his body is very thin, and the first impression he can give people is that he is not that strong, and he cannot protect anyone at all. It's strange to say that I don't know why my body can be so thin despite my strength. It doesn't matter. No matter how skinny you are, I will still like you. And after such a long time, your body is stronger than before, and you don't look as thin as before. Lee Ziyu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki's face and said with a smile, and her face turned red when she said she liked him. When Uchiha Matsuzaki heard that Lee Ziyu liked him, he was a little overwhelmed. After all, this was the first girl to say that she liked him. Just like that, the two of them sat there quietly looking at the stars without speaking to each other. This scene is really beautiful. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Lee Ziyu chatted here for a long time, and soon the sky began to get brighter. Unknowingly, it's already dawn, and time flies really fast. Lee Zishui looked at the brightening sky and said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded after hearing what she just said. Yes, it's time for us to pack up and set off. Let's wake them up now. Okay, they've been sleeping for a long time anyway, so we need to have a good rest tonight. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Kurizuki looked at each other, and then said with smiles. After saying that, the two of them stood up and came to the tent and started to wake up a few of them. After Yamamoto, Takeshi and the three of them woke up, they started to pack their equipment together and then ate something. Time flies really fast, I don't even feel like I'm sleeping and it's already dawn. Yamamoto Takeshi yawned at this time, and then said with a smile. You had a really comfortable sleep this time. I listened to your snoring all night last night. If I had been very sleepy last night, I feel like I still wouldn't be able to sleep. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi at this time, and then said with a smile. So that's it. Then I'll be more careful in the future and try not to snore when I sleep at night. But even so, I didn't sleep very well last night. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with some embarrassment. It's okay. You can sleep as much as you want. Why don't you pack your things quickly? We must get there today. We can have a good rest after we get there. After all, we don't have to live in a tent anymore. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. Time passed slowly, and now it is here. At 7 o'clock in the morning, they all packed up their dirty things and had something to eat. They will set off soon. Is everyone ready? Let's set off now and try to get there as early as possible. Uchiha Matsuzaki put the equipment on his back, then looked at them and said with a smile. Okay, we're all packed up and ready to go. Li Zishui looked at Wawu and Ling Sao, then turned to Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Ready and ready to go. Yamamoto Takeshi also put on his equipment at this time, and then said with a smile. Okay, if that's the case, let's set off and get there early. We don't want to rest for the rest of the journey. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile after they were ready. After saying that, the five of them started walking towards the mission location with their luggage on their backs. During the next period of time, no one of them rested. After all, the remaining journey was also very short. Now they are about to arrive at the mission location, which is a little exciting and a little panicked for them. They were excited because they could see what the place looked like right away. This was also the first time they had seen such a big place. They were panicking because the mission would be cancelled soon after they got there, and they still didn't know where they were. But these are not problems after all. As long as Uchiha Matsuzaki is by their side, they will feel very at ease. They did not encounter any danger or encounter anyone along the way. And it can be said that no one appeared along the way. It's really strange. We're about to get there, but there's no one on this road. But it's good this way, we won't encounter any danger at last. Uchiha Matsuzaki walked on the road, and then said very curiously. It may also be because the road we took is relatively remote, so no one usually takes this road. But we still have to be careful. After all, this is not our territory. Li Zishui said with a smile at this time. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded with a smile after hearing what Kurizuki just said. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki opened his god's eye just in case and looked around. After observing, I found that there was no one around. It seems that this road is really quite remote. After all, there is no detailed map and there is no way to take the main road. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around, and then thought silently in his heart. Now they are still 20 minutes away from the mission location. Instead of running, they choose to walk so that they can accept their own strength. Everyone, please hold on. We will get there in less than 20 minutes. Once we get there, we will find a place to have a good rest. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki turned around to the people behind him and said with a smile. Okay, now that I think about it, I'm very happy. When we get there, we can sleep on the bed. I always feel very uncomfortable and unsteady after sleeping in a tent. Wawu frowned slightly at this time, and then whispered. Okay, once we get there, we can find a place to stay. Once we find a place to stay, we can have a good rest. And I heard that there are a lot of delicious food in that place. We can have a good meal when we get there. Ling Sao walked to Wawu and said to her with a smile. Wawu's expression instantly became much brighter after hearing that there was delicious food. Really? Then I must have a good meal and try to eat all their delicious food. By the way, I will take some with me when I go back. As Wawu walked, she clasped her hands in her fists, imagining that she had already started eating. I really don't know what the world of foodies is like. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Wawu and said with a bitter smile. Actually, there's nothing special about her. She just looks like Wawu. She's thinking about delicious food all the time. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Actually, I really want to eat their food. I heard that their food is really delicious. This time I finally have a chance. Li Zishui looked forward and said with a very sweet smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki smiled after seeing Kurizuki's appearance. No problem. When we get there this time, we will definitely let you 4-pack and have a good taste of their food. Don't forget our purpose this time. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said with a smile. The three girls all became happy after hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki said just now, because as long as they heard about food, most girls would not refuse. During these 20 minutes, they didn't have any rest, and finally they arrived at the mission location. When they arrived at the edge of the village, they saw a very magnificent scenery. The buildings in this village are very antique and very gorgeous, giving people the feeling that they are very wealthy. I didn't expect the buildings here to be so retro and gorgeous. It seems like this village is really rich. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood there and looked at the village, and then said with a smile. Several of them felt very incredible at this time. This village was so luxurious, and it was twice as big as their Konoha village. There is a very tall building in the center of the village. This must be where their top leader is. Everyone, look at how wonderful this village is. Everything is very prosperous. Wawu couldn't help but said excitedly after seeing the scene in this village. After hearing what Wawu just said, Uchiha Matsuzaki and others were very curious and looked at the inside of the village. Sure enough, this village is different from other places. It's so prosperous inside and there are so many people. Li Zishui looked into the village and said with a smile. We have a lot to do this time, and there are a lot of delicious food in this village. It seems that we have paid off this time. Yamamoto Takeshi also said very surprised at this time. After all, they are all children, and they are very curious about such unknown things. As long as Uchiha Matsuzaki is different from others, he has been observing the surrounding situation. We can also go in. After we go in, we will find a place to live first, and we will discuss the rest of the things carefully. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and then said to the few of them. Li Zishui and the others nodded after hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki just said, and then walked in together. This village is really different from others. There is no one at the entrance. It should be said that it is open and anyone can enter. This place is great. If it weren't for this mission, we probably wouldn't be here. Wawu looked at everything around her, and then whispered in great surprise. Everyone, please remember not to mention anything about the mission now, just in case. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around very cautiously, and then whispered to them. A few of them nodded at this time. After all, this was someone else's place. If these things were leaked, it would be very detrimental to them. After observing us for so long, I don't know why no one is following us, and no one notices us. Am I really too nervous? After observing for a period of time, Uchiha Matsuzaki thought with great confusion. Just like what he just said, no one in this village will notice at all. They will only glance at it a few times. After all, they are unfamiliar faces. But even so, they will all think that these people are here to have fun. And after they entered from the village entrance, no one followed them for such a long time. Although this is very strange, it is not a big problem, after all, they are also children. Uchiha Matsuzaki also relaxed a little at this time, and then followed a few of them to start looking for a place to live. We walked around here for almost 20 minutes and finally found an inn. This inn is very atmospheric and has many rooms. After looking at it, only here is better, so let's live here. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and then whispered to them. Li Zishui and the other three girls nodded eagerly at this time. Then the 5 of them slowly walked into the inn. After walking in, they found that the reception hall here was really big. Hello, we want to stay in a room, 2 rooms for 5 days. Uchiha Matsuzaki came to the cashier at this time and said with great respect. Okay, no problem. Your rooms are 201 and 202 respectively. Please ask what you are doing here. The person inside the cashier looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki, and then asked with a smile. We came here to play. We heard that your place is very good, so we came here. Uchiha Matsuzaki said calmly with a smile at this time. Okay, here are your room keys. After saying that, Uchiha Matsuzaki took out the exact amount of money and handed it to the cashier. Taking the keys, the 5 of them arrived at the door of these 2 rooms. Okay, it's quite early now. Let's go and clean up first. Let's go have some food later. Uchiha Matsuzaki gave the key to Kurizuki, and then said to them with a smile. After saying that, they opened the door to their room, and then they were all shocked. This room is really too luxurious for them. Not only does it have 2 double beds, but it also has all the equipment. I really didn't expect that the place they live here is so luxurious. You can imagine the outside world. Li Zishui looked at the decoration inside, and then said with a smile. Yeah, living here is definitely better than living in a tent. Come down and I'm going to have a good rest. Wawu looked at the big bed inside, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Yamamoto Takeshi were equally surprised at this time. This big bed is really comfortable. It's much more comfortable than the tent. The first thing Yamamoto Takeshi did when he came into the room was to lie down on the bed, and then said with a smile. The development speed of this village is really advanced. It seems that the next 5 days can be said to be enjoyable. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood at the window and said with a smile. At this time, the 5 of them were not thinking about the mission at all, they just wanted to have a good rest. He originally planned to take a good rest for the next 2 days and take a good look at this place. Start the task after a good rest, only then can you have sufficient energy. Let's sort out the equipment first. After finishing it, I'll go have a meal and then have a good sleep. This kind of life is really wonderful. Uchiha Matsuzaki came to the equipment and said with a smile. After saying that, he began to pack his equipment and luggage. At this time, Takeshi Yamamoto also came to the equipment and began to pack his things. During this time, Li Zishui and the other 3 girls also packed up their things and then simply washed up. After packing everything, the 5 of them gathered together, and then they were going to eat. We have packed up our things, let's go eat next. At this time, Li Zishui looked at them and said with a smile. Okay, I can't wait to eat the delicious food here. I'm going to be fuller this time. Wawu said very excitedly after going to eat early in the morning. Among you, you are the only one who is so positive when you hear about eating. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Hanawu and said with a smile. I'm not active in eating, and there's something wrong with my brain. Wawu made a face at Uchiha Matsuzaki, and then said with a playful smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at her expression with great helplessness. Finally, the 5 of them slowly walked out of the place and came to the street. It's really busy here at this time, there are so many people. It seems it's really easy for us to find a place to eat. Almost all the streets and alleys here are places to eat. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the stores on both sides of the street, and then said with a smile. Li Zishui and the other 3 girls were already very excited at this time. Seeing so many delicious places, they couldn't wait to try them. Okay, don't look here. Let's hurry up and find a place. Otherwise I feel like I'm already very hungry. Li Ziyu patted Uchiha Matsuzaki and said a little aggrievedly. After seeing Kurisuki's appearance, Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded with a smile, and then the rest of them started looking for a place to eat. After a few minutes of searching, they finally found a restaurant with very rich food. Moon Tower. The name of this restaurant is really domineering. It seems that the food in this restaurant will be very delicious. Let's eat here. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the name of the restaurant and said with a smile. Just when he finished speaking and looked at them, he realized that they had already walked in. You are so willing to wait for me. Uchiha Matsuzaki shook his head helplessly, then followed their footsteps and walked in. Wow, it smells so good, I can smell the food now. Wawu was in the hotel and said with a smile. Wawu, keep up your image, your temper is about to leak out. Li Zishui came to Wawu's side and said with a smile on her face. Wawu also noticed at this time that she was a little out of sorts, and then immediately returned to her original state. Then several of them followed the waiter to a booth and started ordering. I didn't expect that there would be such delicious food here. It looks like we can have a full meal today. Wawu looked at the items on the menu, and then said with a smile. No problem, just order whatever you want to eat. Let's have a good meal today. After all, we are here to have fun this time. Uchiha Matsuzaki deliberately said at this time that they came here for fun. In the next few minutes, the few of them ordered a lot of dishes, and I have to say that the young people have really big appetites. The most important thing is that they have never eaten the food here, and they really want to taste their delicious food. Okay, then let's get these things. Please go a little faster. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the items on the menu, and then said to the waiter with a smile. Okay, just a second. At this time, the waiter took the menu, said to them with a smile, and then left here. Okay, you can definitely have a full meal this time, there are so many delicious foods. If I can't finish it, we have to pack it up and take it away. Uchiha Matsuzaki turned back to look at them and said with a smile. Don't worry, it's not like you don't understand our appetite. This little thing is really trivial to us. Wawu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Okay, that's all I can do. Anyway, if we can't finish it, we can only pack it and take it away. We can't waste it. Uchiha Matsuzaki shook his head helplessly, and then said. This time they ordered a lot of things, and they were all new to them. I have to say that the things they make are really weird, such as fried milk. I have never eaten this thing before. I must taste it this time to see what it tastes like. Wawu and the others said with a smile. This hotel is different from other hotels. Everything is very strange and unheard of. Because of this, they have a lot of stuff at home. But the portions in this restaurant are not very large and there are only a small amount in a big plate. Let's go back and have a good rest after dinner. If there is nothing else to do in the afternoon, we can go out and take a look. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said. Okay, there is nothing to do anyway. I will be full of energy after taking a short rest, and I will have a lot of fun then. Li Zishui looked at them with a smile and said. The thought of them being able to go out and play in the afternoon instantly made them feel a lot more energetic. This is also because they have never been to this place and there are many things they have never played. This time they can finally have some fun when they get here. It seems that there is no way to sleep well this afternoon. After Uchiha Matsuzaki waited for them to look very excited, he silently thought about moving. They sat here chatting for a while, and soon their orders were placed on the table. Wow, these foods are so tempting, I just can't bear to eat them. Yes, these things are so beautiful and very cute. Li Zishui pointed at the puppy pudding and said with a smile. Okay, although these things are cute, they are food after all. If we don't eat them, we still won't be full. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them, and then said helplessly. Then a few of them started to eat. These meals really whetted their appetites, and they were all very good in terms of color, shape and taste. Of course, these meals are not cheap, but this is their first time outside and there is no need to save. I have come all the way here to be able to eat their delicious food. Although the price is relatively expensive, it is well worth it. Ha ha ha, let me tell you, the food here is really delicious, and I already asked about the taste of the food when I just came in. Wawu said with a smile while eating. Uchiha Matsuzaki and others nodded at this time, and these things were affirmed by them. This is just one of their restaurants here. If we go to eat somewhere else in the next few days, maybe it will taste better. Yes, and each of their places has its own characteristics. I just looked at this place and its main specialty is desserts. I have to say, they look really cute. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Kurizuki looked at them and said with a smile while eating. There is nothing wrong with why I came here this time. No matter what it is, it feels good. Yeah, this time it's really a good time. But don't forget that we still have a mission. Don't let yourself relax like this. It would be bad for us. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. We all remember it, Captain, don't keep talking about it. We all know exactly what we are here for. And we will definitely complete this mission very successfully. Li Zishui and the other three girls said with smiles on their faces at this time. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded with a smile after hearing what they just said, and then started eating again. This little pudding is so cute, I don't even want to eat it. Li Zixue looked at the puppy pudding in front of her, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki fell in love with the pudding, smiling and wondering what he was thinking about. Zixue, even though he is so cute, it must taste very bad. If you don't want to eat it, then I will help you eat it first. Uchiha Matsuzaki had already stretched out his spoon when he spoke. Come on, Matsuzaki-kun is so bad. I will eat him now. Li Zixue looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki with great grievance and said. After saying that, Li Zixue picked up the spoon and started eating the puppy pudding. It's such a shame that the plan didn't work out. Uchiha Matsuzaki spread his hands and said with a smile. After Li Zixue took a bite of pudding, the corners of her mouth raised, and her facial expressions were very rich. It's really, really delicious. This silky texture, this fragrance of rose petals, this appropriate sweetness. The pudding this time is truly the best I've ever tasted. Li Zixue hugged her face and said with a satisfied look on her face. Several other people also felt incredible after seeing her appearance. Is it really that delicious? Waiter, please bring us 4 of these puppy puddings, thank you. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at their expressions, then smiled and said to the waiter. Thank you, Captain. Wawu and the other 3 turned to Uchiha Matsuzaki with a smile. It's okay. It's delicious. Maybe everyone's taste is different. Uchiha Matsuzaki said to them. Don't worry, even if it doesn't taste good, we will definitely finish it, and Zixue doesn't look like it doesn't taste good. Wawu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Li Zixue didn't have time to talk to them at all now, she just kept tasting the pudding. Uchiha Matsuzaki also smiled very reassuringly after seeing the happiness on each of their faces. Please use your 4 puppy puddings slowly. The waiter brought the pudding they had just ordered at this time and said. Thanks. Okay, now everyone has pudding, let's have a taste of what it tastes like. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the pudding in front of each of them, and then said with a smile. Then I'm not welcome. Wawu looked at pudding, as if stars had appeared in her eyes, and then said happily. Uchiha Matsuzaki also started eating pudding at this time, and just like that, each of them took a bite. After they finished their first bite, they also showed the same expression and attitude as Li Zixue. It's so delicious. I didn't expect this pudding to be exactly like what Zixue just told us. It's true, not only does it look good, but it also tastes very sweet. I really didn't expect that this place would bring us so many surprises. Uchiha Matsuzaki and the others said very happily at this time. How's it going? I just said this pudding is delicious. You still didn't believe me, but now you finally believe me. Li Zixue looked at them and then said with a smile. This place is really different from our place. The food they make is so delicious. We only have Ichiraku ramen here, and I like it best. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them, and then said with a smile. Yeah, I feel like Ichiraku ramen is not enough for us here. We finally gained a lot of experience when we came out this time, and we also ate so much delicious food. Li Zixue ate something and smiled at them. During the next period of time, they ate a lot of delicious food and sat here and talked about a lot of topics. After everyone had eaten, they walked out of the restaurant with satisfaction. After arriving on the road, everyone's stomach was full. This time directly compensated for the previous few days. This time you are finally full. I am also very full. I didn't eat well in the past few days, but I made up for it now. Uchiha Matsuzaki walked beside a few of them, then turned to look at them and said. This time I finally ate a lot of delicious food. And now I feel very full. Wawu touched her belly and said with a smile. You also said that you ate the most. I didn't expect that we would finish all the food we ordered. Normally, I really don't know that you have such an amazing appetite. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Wawu and said with disbelief on his face. Wawu made a face, and then came to Li Zixue's side with a smile. Zixue, thanks to you for ordering that pudding today, otherwise we really wouldn't have eaten such delicious food today. Wawu looked at Li Zixue and said with a smile. Actually, at the beginning, I thought it was very cute. I never thought it tasted so delicious. But it feels really delicious. If we have a chance in the next few days, we will definitely go and eat it again. Li Zixue licked the corners of her mouth, and then said with a smile. Wawu and Ling Sao nodded happily after hearing what she just said. After all, they didn't eat enough. Chapter 71. I didn't tell you that we should do things to carry out the mission. Now you are thinking about delicious food. How can you carry out the mission like this? Even if we want to eat again, we have to wait until the mission is completed. After hearing what the three girls just said, Uchiha Matsuzaki turned his head and said to them with a smile. Is this really true? Isn't it because you didn't eat enough? Matsuzaki-kun. Lee Ziyu squinted at Uchiha Matsuzaki, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki was stunned for a moment and scratched his face in embarrassment. Actually, you can also say that, no matter what, the food is very delicious. Uchiha Matsuzaki finally said these words under the threat of several of them. The captain has already said that we can go there to eat pudding after we stay for a few days. Lee Zishui looked at them, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki shook his head helplessly at this time. After all, he had no good solution. Okay, now that everyone is full, let's go back to where we live and have a good rest. I feel really tired now, especially after eating a full meal, and I really don't want to move at all. Uchiha Matsuzaki stopped, then turned around and looked at them and said. Okay, let's go back then. If we still have time in the afternoon after resting, we can go out and see other places. Maybe there is something particularly interesting. If that's the case, that would be awesome. It's quite boring to come to this place to eat all the time. It's really perfect to be able to find a fun place to have fun and relax. At this time, Lee Zishui and the other three girls looked at each other and said with smiles on their faces. It's hopeless, it's hopeless. Now they are only thinking about eating, drinking and having fun. They don't take the mission to heart at all. It seems that there is really no other way, so we can only make do with them. It's still very early anyway, so we might as well play here for 2 or 3 days. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at their happy expressions, shook his head helplessly, and then thought silently in his heart. Yamamoto, if we get some rest in the afternoon, let's go for a walk. After all, it's not easy to come here. You can't go back without seeing anything. Uchiha Matsuzaki turned to look at Yamamoto Takeshi and said with a smile. Yamamoto Takeshi nodded. Okay, I'm also looking forward to having some fun things here. That would be really interesting. I already asked about it before coming here. There are many places of interest in this place. Maybe they are waiting for us to visit now. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. A place of interest. It's really amazing that there are places of interest in this place. You must go and see it. If I could go to that place and take a look, I would be really lucky. Uchiha Matsuzaki said in great surprise. Okay, then there shouldn't be anything this afternoon. What time is it? Let's go tomorrow. Anyway, there won't be much going on tomorrow. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. Scenic spots and historic sites, since we can go there, I guess there will be some missions related to them. After all, that place is very famous. If you can do some tasks there, the rewards you get must be surprisingly good. Tomorrow, places of interest, wait for me. System, I hope you won't disappoint me tomorrow. If you can sign in at such a good place, the rewards you get must be very good. You will definitely get more incredible things by then. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the pedestrians coming and going on the street, and then thought silently in his heart. After such a long time, he also discovered some rules. As long as the designated place is more special, the rewards obtained will be relatively better. This is just a large part. Maybe the rewards obtained from ordinary places are also very good. But no matter what, since I can go to such a beautiful place now, how could I miss this time? Okay, we should go back now. Let's have a good rest after we go back. Maybe there will be something unexpected here at night. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. After saying that, they returned to the place where they stayed. At this time, they found that the place was already full of people who wanted to stay in the hotel. I didn't expect there to be so many people queuing here. Yes, this place is very good and very luxurious. It is very worthwhile to be able to stay here for a while. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at so many people lining up and said with a smile. Okay, let's go back. What's there to see here? After saying that, the 5 of them slowly returned to their respective rooms and began to rest. At this time, inside the tallest building in the middle of this place, A thin old man sat in the middle and looked at one or two people below. King of Heaven, based on the information our informants have obtained in the past few days, 5 young boys came to us and lived in Jiyu Tower. A man kneeling on the ground lowered his head and said very respectfully. Really, what are 5 young teenagers doing here? The old man looked at the man who was on the ground quickly, and then said in a weak voice. Probably came here for a trip. Okay, if that's the case, then continue to monitor them, and remember not to let them find out what's going on over there in Konoha village. The old man slowly leaned on the chair and said with a smile. There is no special situation in Konoha right now, everything is going according to plan. Okay, let's go down first, I want to rest. The old man stood up slowly at this time, and then left here with heavy steps. The man who just knelt on the ground slightly raised the corners of his mouth when he saw the old man leaving, and then he also left. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Yamamoto Takeshi had already changed their clothes and were lying on the bed. There was nothing they wanted to see now, and they were not too sleepy. Yamamoto, do you think we can complete the mission? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the ceiling, and then whispered. Of course I can. I will definitely complete it with you here. Moreover, the strength of the few of us is much stronger now. We will definitely be able to help you. Yamamoto Takeshi turned his head and looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki with a smile on his face and said very confidently. Really, it seems you have quite a lot of confidence. Having been with you for so long, I am very aware of your growth. Uchiha Matsuzaki smiled, then looked at the ceiling and whispered. For the next few dozen minutes, neither of them slept. Instead, they lay on the bed and talked to each other. This mission is not easy. Now we can only pray that we can return home safely. Uchiha Matsuzaki closed his eyes, and then said with a smile. It's okay, don't worry, as long as we work together, we will definitely succeed. And we also know a lot about them. As long as we take them seriously, there will be no problem. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Yamamoto Takeshi is a person who can always keep a smile on his face, and he never encounters any troubles. He is truly a representative of optimism. Okay, let's work hard together. Now it's time for us to rest for a while. Uchiha Matsuzaki opened his eyes and looked at him, and then said with a smile. Yamamoto Takeshi nodded and then closed his eyes. He will start to sleep soundly after a while. I didn't expect to fall asleep so quickly. I was not sleepy at all, but he was already asleep. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the sleeping Takeshi Yamamoto and said in disbelief. Time passed slowly, and after more than 10 minutes, Uchiha Matsuzaki was still not sleepy at all. At this time, he simply got out of bed and came to the window to look at the street outside. It's this time of day, and it's really busy with so many people outside. Before I came here to carry out my mission, I didn't know what fun things there were here. It seems that I'm really not suitable for traveling. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the pedestrians walking back and forth on the street and said with a smile. Now I really have a strong feeling that if I go to a scenic spot tomorrow, I can get a very powerful cheat. If I can really get something very powerful, then I will be really lucky. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked outside and thought silently. This time he came here to perform a mission, and he was not very confident. After all, there were many very powerful enemies here, and this was their territory. There are only 5 of them in their territory. If the opponent uses the human wave tactic, they will definitely die. If they can get some powerful ninjutsu at famous places tomorrow, their chances of winning will be greatly improved. It seems that I have been very lucky these days. I hope I can get something very powerful tomorrow. Only then can I survive and complete the mission. Uchiha Matsuzaki is not sure what kind of things he can obtain now, but he believes that he can definitely do it. And after such a long period of research, he also learned a lot about this sign-in system. If he didn't have such a sure certainty, he wouldn't think that he would be able to get anything tomorrow. The current Sharingan is not very powerful anymore. If I can upgrade the Sharingan, it will really be of great help to me. Otherwise, when the time comes, they won't have to be afraid of using human C tactics. Uchiha Matsuzaki used his Sharingan, looked at the reflection in the mirror, and then thought to himself silently. Since he came to this place, he has used his divine eyes to feel the surroundings from time to time. Precisely because this is other people's territory, we can't take it so lightly. If someone sends an assassin to deal with it and they don't have any precautions, they will be doomed. Time flies really fast. Before I knew it, it was already 3 o'clock. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood by the window and turned to look at the clock, and then said in surprise. I originally wanted to wake them up, but thinking that they were very tired these days, I might as well let them sleep a little longer. What is this? Is this place so advanced? It already has a jet car. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki suddenly saw a very magical species on the street. I saw a man on the street, sitting on a small motorcycle without tires. And this motorcycle can be said to be jet-like and very fast. There shouldn't be anything like this in this place in this day and age. It seems it's because of me again, because my arrival has changed a lot of things. However, it's really amazing that this place has such advanced technology. Uchiha Matsuzaki watched the man leave, and then said with a smile. If we can become allies with this country in the future, it will be a very good thing for our Konoha village. But now I'm performing a mission on someone else's territory. It's really unkind to think about this. Uchiha Matsuzaki smiled and shook his head, and then said. Now he is thinking about all these things that others would never think of, and as a time traveler, he knows more things than everyone here. It's 3 o'clock now. Let's wait until 5 o'clock. It should be dark soon by the time we wake them up. Uchiha Matsuzaki slowly came to the side and said with a smile. After saying that, he opened the door and walked out. Then he looked gently and the door came to the first floor. I can't sleep anyway, so I'd better go out for a walk and ask about any interesting places around here. After Uchiha Matsuzaki came to the reception hall, he looked around and said with a smile. Brother, hello. At this moment, Uchiha Matsuzaki was suddenly tapped on the shoulder by someone else, and then heard what he just said. I looked over and saw a curly boy with glasses and freckles. Hello, what's the matter? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at this person, and then asked very curiously. It's okay, my name is Ibaraki Shaoli. It's just that you look a bit unfamiliar. You must not be a local. The curly boy pushed up his glasses at this time, then looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. Oh, my name is Matsuzaki. It's true that I'm not a local, I'm from somewhere else. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked Ibaraki Koriki up and down, and then said. So that's it, I'm a native. I saw that you are special, so I want to make friends with you. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki hesitated a little at this time. After all, it was too strange for someone who was unfamiliar with him to suddenly come out and want to make friends with him. Isn't this good? After all, it's the first time for the two of us to meet. We want to be friends without knowing each other. Isn't it too hasty? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at him very confused and said. It's okay. Those friends are not strangers to each other. We can also follow the normal process. Besides, I like making friends very much, especially people from other villages like you. If I can become friends with you, I can go to your village to play. Ibaraki pushed up his glasses slightly, then said with an innocent smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki felt even more strange at this time that this person seemed so familiar to him when they first met. But seeing how enthusiastic he was, there was no way to refuse directly. Then he came to the side with him. After all, it's really not good to stand there and talk. Shaoli, right, you said you were a local, so why are you here? Uchiha Matsuzaki asked curiously as he looked around. To tell you the truth, I have a job here. Ibaraki Shaoli looked around and whispered. Work? What kind of work can you get here? And the women don't look like poor people in their clothes. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked this person up and down, and then said with a smile. Actually, it's just to help outsiders like you find a place to live, and then earn some tips from the process. Everything I wear is money I earned from working on my own, and my family is not particularly wealthy. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki felt that this person was very interesting and very natural and familiar. It feels like you know him from the beginning. You are about the same age as me. I didn't expect that you would be out working so early. Isn't it really easy? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Ibaraki Shaoli and said with a smile. There is no way. The pocket money given by my family is not enough, and I don't like going to school, so I just go out and find a job. And this line of work is also very easy to do. Generally, people who look unfamiliar to you must be from somewhere else. If you find them a place to live, they will thank you very much. I just started it, and in less than a year I'm already taking care of myself, and I can't spend most of it. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and felt very proud and said, "The most important thing is that our place is very fun, and there are so many customers every day, so we can't make enough money." Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the child in front of him and smiled easily. "It seems that God is helping me this time. I think it is best to find a local one. I'm not particularly familiar with it here. With his help, I'll probably be able to play something very interesting." Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Ibaraki Shaoli's mouth corners rising slightly, and then thought silently in his heart. "Shaoli, I didn't expect you to be such an interesting person. Now I also really want to be friends with you. After all, it's my first time here with my friends. I don't know if there is anything interesting here. I hope I can get your help." Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at him, and then said with a smile. Ibaraki Shaoli fell silent after hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki just said. "Don't worry, I also know that you really need money. As our tour guide this time, I will never pay you a penny less. Just make friends with me, and you can lead us to have some fun these days. I heard that you have many places of interest here, and I really want to go there to see them." Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile after seeing Ibaraki's appearance. "Haha, I didn't expect you to understand me so well when we first met. Well, I will take you to have a good time in the next few days. Don't tell me that there are many places of interest in our place. People who go there find it very worthwhile." Ibaraki Shaoli said happily after hearing that he had made money. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at him and nodded. After all, what they need most now is to think that if they just keep bumping around like headless flies, there is no way to find a particularly interesting place. "Okay, if that's the case, then I'll trouble you. By the way, how can I find you tomorrow?" Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at him and suddenly thought of something, and then said, "Don't worry, I'm here almost every day. You can come here to find me after you get up tomorrow. I'll be waiting for you here. I'm very pleased to meet you." Ibaraki Shaoli looked around, and then said with a smile. After hearing this, Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded with a smile. "Then let's do this for now. I'm leaving here first. It's not too late now, and we should be able to find a few more residents." Ibaraki Shaoli looked at the time, and then said with a smile. Afterwards, the two of them greeted each other and left the place. "I can't tell. I really can't tell what this kid is thinking. If it's true as he said, there's no need to worry. Forget it, don't worry even if he has other purposes. The most important thing now is that I need a guide. It's not like he came uninvited. It's really God who helped me." Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the driveway outside, and then thought silently in his heart. This time it was indeed a coincidence, but I couldn't tell why such a thing happened. If Ibaraki Koriki really had a purpose, why did he choose Uchiha Matsuzaki as his target? This kid hides very deeply. No matter when he speaks or his facial expressions, he can't be seen through. It seems like you need to be more careful in the next few days. Uchiha Matsuzaki shook his head, and then thought silently. After checking the time, he slowly returned to his room and woke them up. It's just getting dark at this time, so it's a good time to go out and visit the night market. Everyone, please wake up, it's just the right time, we should go out for a walk. And the night market in this place must be very beautiful, and there will be many interesting things. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the four of them, and then said with a smile. Great, this way I finally have something to do. It would be really boring if you sleep all the time. Yeah, I wonder what's the difference between the night market here and ours. The three girls said with smiles at this time. We'll find out if we go and see it. Now that the time is just right, let's set off quickly. When I was down there just now, I also learned that if you go there late, it will be very crowded. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the three of them, and then said with a smile. I don't know why. After I woke up, I suddenly felt a little hungry. I must eat something after I go out. Takeshi Yamamoto touched his belly and said with a smile. Really, you're still hungry despite eating so much at noon. It seems I really underestimated your appetite. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi and said, feeling very incredible. What can be done about this? After all, I am still growing and it is normal for me to eat more. Takeshi Yamamoto said with a smile. Okay, this is just for fun these days. When we go out later, we can do whatever we want. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a sigh after seeing that there was really nothing they could do. Then several of them began to tidy up their appearance and came to the street. But the lights on the street were very bright, and the whole street felt like daytime. And there are not very many people now, but both sides are already full of things, no matter what they are selling. Their village looks like this every night. Compared to here, nothing much happens. It's really spectacular. Every house has lights on and there are more and more people on the streets. Yes, the merchants I saw twice sell everything, and there are also weird things. This time we finally found some insight. We don't have this kind of thing anywhere. Li Zishui and the other 3 girls were walking on the street, their eyes seemed to be seeing prey. Sure enough, there is nothing good in going shopping with girls. And judging by the way they look, we may be in trouble tonight. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the 3 of them and said to Yamamoto Takeshi. What kind of trouble can we 2 suffer? Yamamoto Takeshi said with a puzzled look. You should understand after experiencing this night. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a half smile. Yamamoto Takeshi was also confused when he heard this. Okay, you'll understand after a while. Aren't you hungry? Go buy some food quickly. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at both sides of the street, and then said with a smile. I almost forgot if you didn't tell me. I'm even hungrier now than before, otherwise I have to hurry up and eat something. Yamamoto Takeshi suddenly changed to a very hungry expression and said. There is no one left with this child. Is it really a miracle that he can survive to this day? Uchiha Matsuzaki shook his head helplessly, and then said softly. Yamamoto Takeshi hugged his belly, then looked at the vendors around him, and quickly found what he wanted to eat. I didn't expect you to eat octopus balls. The octopus balls here are so big. They seem to be much more affordable than ours. Uchiha Matsuzaki came to Yamamoto Takeshi and looked ahead and said. That's right, not only is it big, but it's also quite cheap. This time, I can finally eat enough. Takeshi Yamamoto said with a smile. Matsuzaki-kun, what are you doing here? We turned back in front and found that you 2 were missing, and then we came back to look for you. Li Ziyu came to Uchiha Matsuzaki and said to him. Yamamoto, I didn't expect you to buy octopus balls here. It's really unkind. Boss, give me one too. Before Uchiha Matsuzaki could speak, Hanawu looked directly at Octopus Maruko-chan and said. Look, the 2 of us are here just to buy octopus balls. When we just came out, didn't Yamamoto say that he was very hungry? Uchiha Matsuzaki spread his palms and said with a smile. So that's it, I thought you were lost. There are more and more people here now. It seems that they all come out for a walk after eating. Li Zishui looked around and said with a smile. Yeah, it's really lively here. It looks like we can buy a lot of things tonight. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and then said with a smile. He planned to buy some gifts for his sister tonight and take them back when he went back. After all, he had promised her before coming here. I'm going to do some shopping tonight. I just saw a lot of weird things that I've never seen before. This place is really great. I feel like I want to live here in the future. Li Zishui looked at the road ahead and said with a smile. Okay, don't worry, just buy it carefully. Yamamoto and I will be your laborers tonight to help you carry your things. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said with a smile. It's really great, and it would take a long time to walk around here. It's just past 6 o'clock now, we should still have a long time. Li Ziyu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said very happily. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded. Sure enough, girls are really suitable for shopping, even though it's only 6 o'clock now. It's really possible for them to go shopping for 3 or 4 hours. They don't know how tired they are, and they really don't know if their legs are their own. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Li Zishui and thought silently. Okay, we have got our things, now we can eat and go shopping at the same time. Wawu took the octopus balls and said to the 4 of them with a smile. Okay, now that you all have something to eat, it's time to go. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. After saying that, the five of them walked forward together. Now the whole street is very bright, and it looks very much like the streets in ancient times, with so many people. The streets and alleys are full of people. Scenes like this are really rare. By the way, let me tell you something. I met someone while you were resting today. This man is very strange and about our age. Uchiha Matsuzaki quickly told several of them about his meeting with Ibaraki Koriki today. It's really strange. This person is about the same age as us, and he met you by chance. Li Zishui touched her chin, and then said thoughtfully. It's weird. The most important thing is that I can't see through him, which worries me. But what we need most now is a guide, so we have no choice but to let him be the one. But you can rest assured that if he does anything unusual, I can always find him and take him down. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. That's fine. We are unfamiliar with the place here anyway. Without a local to lead us, we would really be like headless flies. Li Zishui said with a smile. By the way, we have a captain who is afraid of any difficulties. Even if that person has evil intentions, there will be no problem. Wawu said with a smile while eating octopus balls. You guys are really relaxed. What would you do if I wasn't watching you? Uchiha Matsuzaki whispered to the few of them. That situation will not happen. As long as there is a task, we will definitely carry it out together. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with an innocent and bright smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki's heart melted at this moment, and then he nodded gently. Let's go over there and have a look. There are more things sold there. Li Ziyu pulled Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. At this time, several of them came to a nearby store selling accessories. Wow, the things here are so beautiful, I want to buy them. Li Zishui looked at the various accessories from a year ago, and then said with a smile. Really, I want to buy some too. Ling Sao seemed to be getting excited too. Sure enough, girls can't resist the temptation of these things. I'm really curious about Wawu, you don't like these things. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Hanawu who was eating on the side and said with a smile. Only little girls like these things. I only like these delicacies. Wawu showed up and said with an indifferent expression. As expected, I really don't understand the world of foodies. Girls generally can't resist such temptations. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Wawu and shook his head helplessly, and then thought to himself. Matsuzaki-kun, why don't you buy something and take it back to Shao Kei? Kurizuki turned to look at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. When I heard what you said, I remembered that when I came here, she told me to bring her a gift when I go back. But I don't know if he will like these things. You'd better choose something for her. Anyway, you girls know each other very well. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile. Li Zishui nodded after hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki just said. Okay, then you can rest assured and leave it to me. Shao Kei will definitely be satisfied with what I choose. Li Zishui said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki felt a headache looking at these dazzling things. I really don't know what things to choose that will make Uchiha-ko like it. Fortunately, having a girl on the mission this time did me a favor. In this way, one thing has been solved, and I really feel happy. I really don't know how long I will stay in this place at this pace. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around, and then thought silently in his heart. As he just said, they are really too slow at the current pace. If they don't hurry up and carry out the mission, it is very likely that they will be here for a long time. At the same time, this was their first time outside and they were exposed to many interesting new things. If you don't play for a few days, I'm really sorry to come here. These days are equivalent to a vacation. Just relax here and not think about other things when performing tasks. Okay, the two of us have bought it. To be honest, the decorations here are really expensive. Here, this is for Shao Kei. Just give it to her when you get back. She will definitely like it. Li Zishui took the things she bought, came to Uchiha Matsuzaki, and said to him with a smile. Okay, thank you. I'll give you the money when I get back later. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile after taking the things. No, just think I bought it for Shao Kei. If you have a chance in the future, you can just treat me to a meal. Li Ziyu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki with a smile and said. After hearing this, Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded gently after a few seconds. For the next period of time, they were the girls shopping. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Yamamoto Takeshi were responsible for helping them get things. At this time, Takeshi Yamamoto understood why shopping with girls made him tired. Matsuzaki, I didn't expect you to know so many things. This time I finally realized why I can't go shopping with girls. I'm really tired. Yamamoto Takeshi walked beside Uchiha Matsuzaki holding something and said with a smile. Now I finally know. In fact, this is just the beginning. Don't underestimate girls. As long as they start shopping, they can go shopping for a long time. I can feel their legs now to see if they are mine. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Takeshi Yamamoto and said with a smile. Li Zishui heard the conversation between the two of them at this time. What's wrong? Are you tired from this week? We girls are born to go shopping, and we don't feel tired at all. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said very proudly. It seems like this is true, but it really hurts us boys. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Li Zishui and sighed. The most important thing is that Wawu just said clearly that she is not interested in these things, but now she is more enthusiastic. I really don't understand you girls. And now Wawu buys more things than you. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the thing in his hand, and then said with a smile. It's not that I don't buy less, it's just that I don't know what to buy. Let's go. There are only a few things that interest me from this far away. Li Zishui looked around and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded. He also understood that it would be very difficult to find something he likes in this place. There are so many things here now that it's dizzying to choose from. Then you just walk slowly from behind and be sure to keep up with us. I'll go to the front to find them first. Li Zishui looked at the two of them and said with a smile, then quickened her pace and came to the side of the two girls. It looks like the two of us will sleep very soundly tonight. Yes, the journey tonight is quite tiring. Uchiha Matsuzaki and Yamamoto Takeshi looked at each other and said with a wry smile. For more than 2 hours, they kept moving around, and the two boys held more and more things in their hands. I can go shopping with girls, and the role of boys is to help them get things. Okay, we've almost finished shopping, and it's getting very late. We should go back and rest. Li Ziyu came to Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. Really, we can finally go back and rest. The two of us are really exhausted. Uchiha Matsuzaki became excited for a moment, and then said. Yes, let's go back, and we'll have a look on the way back. Li Zishui covered her mouth and said with a smile. No, you still want to buy something, and we two boys can't take it anymore. Uchiha Matsuzaki said, feeling very incredible. Look, you're anxious. I'm just teasing you. We've already bought a lot of things and won't buy anything else. And now we feel very tired and want to go back and soak our feet and have a good sleep. Li Zishui said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki breathed a sigh of relief at this time. The three girls helped Uchiha Matsuzaki and Yamamoto Takeshi share some things, and then walked towards where they lived together. All 5 of them were very tired tonight. After all, they couldn't stand it after shopping for so long. I'm finally back. I'm really tired now. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to sleep very well tonight, and I should be able to sleep in tomorrow. We bought a lot of things tonight, and we spent a lot of money at once. The 3 girls returned to their rooms and said with smiles on their faces. What do you think? So many things will make us both exhausted. Uchiha Matsuzaki said after putting the things they bought next to him and sitting down. I'm going to have a good sleep tonight, and I'm going to snore. As a boy, it's really difficult to go shopping with you girls. Yamamoto Takeshi said very tiredly at this time. Yamamoto, can't you bear it now? There will be more of this kind of thing in the future. So it's better to take the time to get used to this level. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi and said with a smile. It's only so early and you can't stand it anymore. It seems like you're really in trouble. Li Ziyu looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said jokingly. No, never say a man can't do it. Remember that it's Yamamoto who can't do it now, not me. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki suddenly became energetic and said. After hearing what Uchiha Matsuzaki said just now, Li Ziyu covered her mouth and laughed. Okay, we all know, now you should go back to your room. We girls are also very tired and want to rest. You guys should go back to bed early. You won't sleep very well today. Lee Zishui looked at the two of them, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded with a smile, then stood up and pulled Yamamoto Takeshi out. Sleep well and come to our room anytime if you have any questions. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood at the door and smiled at them. Okay, good night, Matsuzaki-kun. Lee Ziyu smiled at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. Then he closed the door. It's time for us to go back to sleep. I still have things to do tomorrow. Have a good rest tonight. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi and said with a smile. After returning to the room, the two of them simply washed up and then lay down on the bed and began to sleep. While sleeping, Uchiha Matsuzaki still kept smiling. Because when they separated just now, Lee Zishui said goodnight to him with a smile on her face. The five of them were very tired tonight, after walking for so long and buying so many things. They slept very soundly that night, and felt relaxed when they woke up the next day. They woke up slowly at around 9 o'clock the next day. The sleep I had last night was really comfortable. Now that I am full of strength, I want to go see the famous places. Uchiha Matsuzaki put on his clothes after getting up again, and then said with a smile. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to the scenic spots and historic sites. This is the first time I've been to such a place. I don't know, it's different from what I thought. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki, who was already dressed, and said with a smile. This is also my first time to go to that kind of place, so we can only know her true face after we get there. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile. Places of interest are, after all, remnants of earlier eras. The place they are going to now can be said to be very shocking. Okay, Zishui and the others should be getting up too. It's time for us to meet them. After we gather together, we will go down and see if we can find Ibaraki Shaoli. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi and said. Yamamoto Takeshi nodded, then put on his clothes, and the two of them simply washed up and left the room. Matsuzaki-kun, you guys are up. We thought you hadn't gotten up yet, so we planned to wake you up. As soon as they walked out of the room, the five of them met. I'm very excited when I think about going to places of interest today. Originally we were thinking of getting you up, but now it seems we don't need to. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurisuke, who was wearing a light yellow dress, and couldn't keep his eyes away. I didn't expect that after changing my clothes, I would be so beautiful. And the clothes match her very well. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Lee Zishui and thought silently. Matsuzaki-kun, why do you always stare at me? Lee Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said questioningly. Oh, it's nothing. You look very beautiful today. Uchiha Matsuzaki came back to his senses and said to her with a smile. Thanks, Lee Zishui said with a sweet smile. They grabbed some of their luggage at this point and walked slowly downstairs. The weather is really good today, it's really suitable for traveling. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile after seeing the weather outside. I didn't expect this kid to be waiting for us here. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki saw a boy sitting in the same position as yesterday. Everyone, come with me and let you get to know this strange boy. Everyone nodded. Afterwards, they all came to Ibaraki Shaoli's side. Matsuzaki, you're here. You don't know that I have been here very early. I didn't expect you to wake up so late. Hello everyone, my name is Ibaraki Koriki. I will be your guide in the coming days. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and others and immediately said with a smile. You see, just like what I said, this person is really familiar with himself. Uchiha Matsuzaki approached Kurizuki and whispered. Yeah, it's really different from what I imagined. I have never met someone so familiar. I finally gained some experience today. Lee Zishui nodded and whispered. Over the next period, each of them introduced themselves. After all, it was their first meeting, and each of them seemed a little unfamiliar. But only Ibaraki Shaoli could talk a lot to each of them, but most of them talked by themselves. Now that you all know each other, Shaoli will take us here to play in the next few days. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and the others and said with a smile. Don't worry, as a local, I will make clear arrangements for you and let you experience a trip like never before. And I have lived here for many years and know every place here well. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at them and said with a smile. I didn't expect that today you talk more than yesterday. Yesterday, you would sometimes remain silent when talking to me. Today is really different. Uchiha Matsuzaki patted Ibaraki Koriki's shoulder and said. Ibaraki Shaoli stopped talking at this time, and then still smiled. Li Zishui and the four of them also felt that this person was very interesting at this time. Okay, now that everyone knows each other, it's time for us to go get something to eat. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said. No way, it's almost 10 o'clock and you haven't eaten yet. It seems that you guys should have played very late and gone to bed yesterday, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten up so late this morning. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. You are the only one who talks a lot. If you keep talking so much, I'll beat you up. Uchiha Matsuzaki clenched his fist, then raised it and said to him. Ibaraki closed his mouth, then held his mouth with his hand and slid it to the left. Indicates that he will no longer speak. Okay, let's go out and find a place to start eating now. After eating, let's go to the scenic spots. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Ibaraki Shaoli and said. Li Zishui and the others also smiled at each other. The six of them walked out of the hotel and went to the street to look for where they were going to eat next. Why don't we ask him where the food is better? After all, we haven't eaten too much food here. Yes, as a local, he will definitely know which place is more delicious. Li Ziyu and Wawu came to Uchiha Matsuzaki and whispered to him. Uchiha Matsuzaki nodded. Shaoli, I want to ask you which restaurants here are better. We just came here and don't know what to eat. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Ibaraki Shaoli and said. You've asked the right person. I usually don't have any hobbies. I just like to eat and go shopping. Ibaraki Shaoli said with a smile. You'd better tell me the key points, otherwise I'm really going to hit you with my fist. Uchiha Matsuzaki said impatiently at this time. To be honest, this person loves to talk too much. When we first meet, there will be a lot to talk about. Okay, there is a noodle shop in front. The noodles in that noodle shop are very delicious. I eat them almost every 2 days. At this time, Ibaraki Shaoli pointed forward and said with a smile. Noodle house, what do you think? How about we go there and have a look? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and said with a smile. Okay, I haven't eaten ramen for so many days. How about we go there to eat? Yeah, you can't keep eating those fancy things. You need to have some real meals. After several of them agreed, Ibaraki Shaoli took charge of leading the way. Soon they arrived in front of the noodle shop. This noodle shop is really very simple, and the name does not contain the word, noodle shop. I really can't believe that a place as rich as yours would have such an ordinary noodle shop. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the noodle shop and said with a smile. Actually, our place is also divided into poor areas and rich areas. Where you are standing now is the rich area, but there are also some poor people in the rich area. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said. There is such a theory, I really don't know. Uchiha Matsuzaki seemed to understand everything and then said. Okay, let's go in. After saying that, the six of them slowly walked into the noodle shop. What they saw after walking in was not much different from what they expected. After all, the brand outside is very simple, and it can't be very luxurious inside. But the smell inside is so tempting. Smell good. Yeah, I can't tell that this noodle shop tastes good. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the tables, chairs and benches inside, and then said. They came to a big table, and 6 people sat down at the same time. Soon the boss came to them and introduced them to the special ramen here. After Ibaraki Koriki's recommendation, the 5 of them ordered the same ramen. I'm telling you, this green onion beef ramen is very delicious. I eat this ramen almost every time I come here. You will definitely feel delicious after eating it this time. I'll introduce the places of interest to you later during dinner. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and others and said. Okay, no problem. I hope you won't have to talk so much when we are eating. You must pick out the key points and talk to us. Otherwise I would be really rude to you. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Ibaraki Shaoli and said with a smile. At this time, Ibaraki Shaoli gestured, okay, very obediently. We'll set off after we finish eating. We still have a lot of time today. We can definitely finish the first one. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurozuki and the others and said with a smile. I don't know what beautiful scenery there is. I love cherry blossoms very much, and I really hope there are many cherry blossom trees there. Li Zishui said with a smile. You can rest assured that there is a cherry blossom forest there, full of cherry blossoms. This season should be officially open now, and you can just catch up when you get there. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at Li Zishui and said with a smile. It seems like you really know a lot about those places of interest. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Ibaraki Shaoli and said. To tell you the truth, I have done the job of guide before. At that time, I took many people to visit many interesting places, so I knew them all very well. Ibaraki Shaoli said very proudly. Can't you see that you, this kid, really have a lot of things to hide? I found you right now. I found you right. Uchiha Matsuzaki crossed his hands in front of him and said with a smile. Ibaraki Shaoli stopped talking at this time and just kept smiling. It seems that this boy really has a lot of things that he hasn't told us. You have to be very careful next, and be more defensive. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the smiling Ibaraki Koriki and thought to himself. Almost 10 minutes passed, and the ramen for each of them was placed in front of them. Each of them could smell the ramen at this moment, and their mouths immediately started to water. It's so delicious. I can't bear it anymore. I'm really embarrassed. I'm going to start eating. As a foodie, Hana Wu said while looking at the ramen. Then several of them also picked up chopsticks and started eating ramen. How happy they are at this time. While you are eating, I'll explain to you what's there. The first scenic spot we are going to today is a very old castle. The castle is very majestic, and it is surrounded by a circle of cherry blossom trees. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at them eating and said with a smile. During the next meal time, Ibaraki Shaoli told them many things about places of interest and historical sites. I really didn't expect this place to be so interesting. I can't wait to go there and have a look. Yeah, I really want to see the cherry blossoms there. Several of them were very happy and said excitedly after eating the ramen. Just now when Ibaraki Shaoli was talking about the places of interest and historical sites, each of them couldn't hold back. Okay, since you are all full, let's set off. That place is still a certain distance away from us, so we have to hurry up. Ibaraki Shaoli stood up and said to them. Afterwards, each of them slowly walked out of the ramen restaurant and finally Uchiha Matsuzaki paid for the noodles. This place of yours is really great. Not only does it have so many fun places, but the food is so delicious. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Ibaraki Shaoli and said with a smile. How about it? I can tell you with great confidence that as long as you play this place once, you will definitely come back again. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you next time after this separation. Ibaraki Koriki looked at Yamamoto Takeshi and said with a smile. Okay, there is still a long time to come. Let's hurry up and get there now. Uchiha Matsuzaki came to them and said with a smile. Set off. They kept walking for the next time, and it took almost an hour on the road to reach their destination. I didn't expect it was really far enough. But now that I see this castle, all the fatigue is gone. Li Zishui said with a smile. At this time, a very ancient castle stood majestically in front of them. There is a circle of cherry blossom trees around the castle, and the cherry blossoms blooming on each tree are very beautiful. There are now many people in the castle who have started to play in it. This castle has a long history, and it is still standing here. Although it lasted a long time, it was still very strong. Sure enough, you will still be very surprised when you see it with your own eyes. This castle really surprised me, it's so big. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood there looking at the castle and said with a smile. Let me tell you what, you will feel incredible when you come here, and you will want to come here again in the future. Ibaraki Shaoli said very proudly after seeing all of them stunned. Uchiha Matsuzaki is not particularly surprised by this castle now, but is thinking about when he will have a sign and mission. Okay, let's not stand here stupidly, let's go in and take a look. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at them and then said with a smile. Li Zishui and the others nodded, then followed the two of them and walked in slowly. After walking in, I found that the scenery inside was really like heaven and earth compared with the outside. There are many weapons in this castle, and they were all made in the past. They can no longer be used, but they can be viewed. Wow, I've never seen such a weapon before. There are also armors and so many weird things. It really surprised me. Li Zishui looked at the things inside, and then said in great surprise. This was the first time that Uchiha Matsuzaki had seen so many strange weapons, and there were many more, and he didn't even know their names. Not to mention the others, this is their first time coming to this place. Ding, please host go to dungeon number 1 cage to sign in. While Uchiha Matsuzaki was looking at these things, he suddenly heard what the system had just said, and then the corners of his mouth twitched up slightly. Finally here, it seems to be exactly as I guessed. Only when I arrive at a special place will there be a sign-in task. It seems that I must go to more interesting places in the future, so that I can sign in many times. Uchiha Matsuzaki thought in his heart with a smile on his face at this time. You guys are playing here now, and I suddenly have some inconveniences. Xiao Li, take them for a walk. Otherwise I won't pay you. Uchiha Matsuzaki immediately held his stomach and whispered. Don't worry, I will definitely lead them well. As soon as Ibaraki Xiao Li heard about the money, he immediately said with a smile. Matsuzaki-kun, you are really disappointing. Hurry up and go, we are nearby, hurry up and come back. Li Zishui looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki and said angrily. Uchiha Matsuzaki smiled and then quickly ran to the side. After leaving their sight, Uchiha Matsuzaki immediately started looking for the entrance to the dungeon. This place is too big, I can't even find it if I just walk around like this. The Eye of God, Uchiha Matsuzaki said angrily. At this time, he scanned the entire castle, and then found the entrance to the dungeon through the map in his mind. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then came to this place as quickly as possible. Although this castle has been abandoned for so long, you can still vaguely smell the smell of blood. Uchiha Matsuzaki walked in the dungeon, and then frowned and said. The dungeon of this castle is very large and very complicated. Without the Eye of God, it would be difficult for him to find cage number 1. Finally I found it. I didn't expect it to be at the very end. I have to say it's so big in here. Uchiha Matsuzaki said while standing in cage number 1. Start signing in. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki began to sign in. During this period of time, he has been looking around. This is also the first time for him to come to such a place. I am really curious. I didn't expect that the place where people were detained would look like this. This is the first time I've seen it with my own eyes. I don't know what kind of rewards I can get this time, but I really have some expectations. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and said with a smile. But there is another question that I am very curious about. When I was scanning here just now, there was a room that could not be scanned inside. It seems to be right next to here. When we're done, we'll go see what's there. Uchiha Matsuzaki suddenly remembered what he had just seen and said. Just when he was using God's Eye to search for this place, he found a room and couldn't scan the situation inside at all. This made him feel very strange. Ordinarily, his divine eye could scan everything, but that room alone gave him the feeling that it was completely blank, and he couldn't see what was going on inside at all. And that room is right around cage number 1, very close to it. Uchiha Matsuzaki was actually not particularly curious about what was inside, but just wanted to figure out why the scan couldn't be done inside. Ding, you signed in successfully and the reward will arrive in your account in 3 hours. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around, and then heard what the system just said. It's really the same as before. When you sign in at some special places, the rewards will always come very slowly. But it's all very good stuff after all. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile. Okay, now it's time to go see what that place is. I'm really curious. This has never happened in such a long time. This is really the first time. Uchiha Matsuzaki walked out of this place, then looked around and said with a smile. If I remember correctly, it should be over here. Uchiha Matsuzaki followed his memory and then slowly searched for this place. Soon, he found a door to a room, which was the place where he couldn't scan it just now. From the outside it looks like anywhere else. And since this room can be here in the dungeon, it obviously must have something special inside. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood at the door and looked at the door, then frowned slightly and said. Just like what he just said, this door is simply the above ordinary door. But the only difference is that this door has no door handle. It's really strange. As a door, it doesn't have a door handle. Uchiha Matsuzaki said very doubtfully. Then he stretched out his hand and slowly pushed the door, but found that there was no way to push it. It shouldn't cause much noise in this place. Since there is no way to push it away, we can only destroy it. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around and found that there was no one else and said softly. Rasengan. Boom. Uchiha Matsuzaki used the Rasengan to blast open the door. Although there was no way to push it open, the quality of the door was really high. I didn't expect that it was turned into ashes by accident. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the door that no longer existed and said softly. Okay, now there's nothing that doesn't love me, so let's go and see what's inside. Uchiha Matsuzaki fanned the dust in front of his eyes with his hand, and then whispered. Then he walked in carefully, and at this time he found that this place was exactly like other places. It was exactly the same as the other cages, there was nothing there, and it was very empty. Why should it be exactly the same as other places? It stands to reason that there should be something special in it, but we haven't found it yet. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked around, and then said with some disappointment. I couldn't scan the situation inside this house. I was very interested and wanted to know what it looked like inside. But now I find that it is exactly the same as other places, which is really disappointing. Forget it, since you have signed in successfully, there is no need to waste time here. I was originally thinking that there was some big treasure here, but it seems that I was overthinking it. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with great disappointment, then turned around and prepared to leave. This time he was indeed quite disappointed. He originally thought he would get an unexpected surprise, but now it seems that it is really not the case. Etc. What does it feel like? Just when Uchiha Matsuzaki was about to leave here, he suddenly felt a magical energy pulling him. After feeling it, he slowly turned around and scanned the place again with his divine eyes. I see. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the room, and then the corners of his mouth rose slightly. After scanning with his own divine eye, he discovered that there was another mystery in this room. There is a very mysterious mezzanine under the floor in the center of the room, and golden light is shining inside. It turns out there is something hidden in here. I really underestimated this place. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood in the center of the room and said with a smile. After saying that, he took out his own weapon, and then gently tilted the piece of wood. As the wooden board was tilted up, the golden light inside gradually flickered out. My eyes are blinking like this. I would have closed my eyes if I had known. Uchiha Matsuzaki narrowed his eyes, and then said softly. After 2 or 3 seconds, the dazzling golden light finally stopped flickering, and what appeared in front of Uchiha Matsuzaki was a book. I didn't expect it to be a book. No, to be precise, it should be a secret book. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the book inside, and then said with a smile. 6-style spring sword. This name is really weird. But judging from the name, it should be a secret book about knives. Uchiha Matsuzaki picked up the secret book, then looked at the name on it and said. In the following time, Uchiha Matsuzaki briefly read the secret book and found that all of them were moves he had never seen before. Moreover, these moves are all deadly and do not give the enemy any chance to breathe. There is no author's name, but there is only a flowery character in the signature. This secret book is really very important to me. It seems that I will learn all these things when I have time in the future. Uchiha Matsuzaki put the secret book in his pocket and said with a smile. It's been so long, I almost forgot, they are still waiting for me up there. It's better to hurry up and go back, otherwise it will be difficult to explain to them. At this moment, Uchiha Matsuzaki suddenly thought of Kurizuki and the others, and then said anxiously. After saying that, Uchiha Matsuzaki left here as fast as he could and headed towards their place. Lee Zishui and the others are here. What's going on, Matsuzaki-kun? You've been gone for so long, is there something unexpected? Lee Zishui sat aside and looked around, and then said very anxiously. It's impossible. What kind of skills does Matsuzaki have? It's not like you don't know that he will be fine. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Lee Zishui and said with a smile. Look, the captain is back. Ling Sao looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki who was walking towards them and said happily. Lee Zishui also stood up immediately at this time, looking at Uchiha Matsuzaki, who was walking towards this side, with a slight smile on his face. Sorry everyone, I kept you waiting for so long. After Uchiha Matsuzaki came to a few of them, he said to them with a smile. I don't know what I ate. My stomach hurts so much that it took me so long. At this time, Uchiha Matsuzaki simply made up a reason and said to them. Lee Zishui and the others were relieved at this time. After all, there was no danger. It's really abominable. If you do this again in the future, I will ignore you. Lee Zishui watched Uchiha Matsuzaki pouting his lips, and then said angrily. Okay, I understand. I will never do this again. I'm really sorry. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said with a smile. Yamamoto Takeshi and others also laughed after seeing the two of them like this. Matsuzaki, if you come back a little later, I'm really likely to go to the toilet to get you. Yamamoto Takeshi looked at Uchiha Matsuzaki with a smile and said jokingly. Go aside. Uchiha Matsuzaki showed a disgusted expression, and then said. Okay, now that everyone is here, let's go visit other places by ourselves. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at them and said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki and others nodded, and then went to visit other places together. I didn't expect that there are really many cherry blossom trees in their place, and they can be seen almost everywhere. Lee Zishui looked at the large cherry blossom trees and said with a smile. Does Zishui like cherry blossoms very much? Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki and said with a smile. Lee Zishui nodded. Yes, I like cherry blossoms very much. I heard from my mother that the cherry blossoms were in full bloom when I was in junior high school. At that time, I really liked cherry blossoms. As long as I see them, I won't cry. Lee Zishui gently lifted her bangs, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at Kurizuki's face and smiled happily. I really want to capture this scene with my camera. It's so beautiful. But it's really a pity that I didn't take this photo with me here. Uchiha Matsuzaki sighed softly, and then thought silently in his heart. Don't worry, cherry blossoms will never become extinct in this world, and we will see more and more beautiful ones in the future. By then, our village may also have cherry blossoms all over the streets. Uchiha Matsuzaki said to Kurizuki with a smile. You are serious. You are flirting here. Have you considered our feelings? Yamamoto Takeshi couldn't stand it anymore at this time, and then said. You, uncle, if you say that, I'm really going to beat you. Uchiha Matsuzaki clenched his fist and said fiercely to Takeshi Yamamoto. It's really abominable. A rare and beautiful scene was ruined by this grandson. Uchiha Matsuzaki cursed inwardly. In this way, the five of them happily enjoyed it for a long time. I have to say that the cherry blossoms here are so beautiful. It's cherry blossom season now, and you can smell the fragrance when you walk around here. Uchiha Matsuzaki didn't have any other tasks to think about at this time, so he just wanted to take advantage of this time to have fun and go shopping with a few of them. After all, things like this are rare. Now, they are still young and can be carefree. When they grow up, they will run around for life, and then they will have no chance to play together. Really, I didn't expect that this place would have such a beautiful scene. It really exceeded my imagination. Uchiha Matsuzaki stood on top of the castle and looked down, saying with a smile. Yes, this place is so beautiful. It would be great if I could stay here forever. Lee Ziyu stood next to Uchiha Matsuzaki and said with a smile. We have visited almost all the places in this place. This place is still relatively small. Wait for tomorrow. I will take you to a larger place tomorrow. It will definitely be better than here. The most important thing is that there are a lot of delicious food there. Ibaraki Shaoli looked at them, and then said with a smile. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at him and nodded. Okay, let's put it this way, we'll get up early and set off tomorrow. I have to say that your place is really magical. There are so many places of interest. Uchiha Matsuzaki said with emotion. No, our place is famous for its scenic spots and historic sites. If there weren't so many scenic spots and historic sites, there wouldn't be so many people coming to our place. If it's really like what I just said, then I probably won't have such a job. Ibaraki Shaoli said with a smile. I'm so hungry. Can we go eat? I haven't eaten anything after walking around for so long. Now I feel like I have no energy. Hua Wu said to them while holding her stomach. Now that you say that, I feel very hungry. Let's go down and find a place to eat. Li Zishui looked at them and said. After several of them agreed, they slowly descended from the castle to the street and started looking for a place to eat. Do you want to give me some advice? I'll recommend some of the more delicious things here. And these foods are snacks. Not only are they relatively cheap, but they are also plentiful. Ibaraki Shaoli suddenly came to them at this time, and then said with a smile. Okay, I didn't expect the delicious food here. You all know that it looks so shocking that I look down on you. Uchiha Matsuzaki showed an incredulous expression and then said. That's not the case. There is a sushi shop selling sushi around here. The sushi there is very exquisite, and the price is cheap and the quantity is very large. Most of them are very fresh fish. Then there are grilled chicken wings. That snack is also very delicious. The chicken wings there are very big and very fat. When Ibaraki Shaoli spoke, he inadvertently licked his lips and swallowed a few times. Uchiha Matsuzaki saw all these subtle movements. It seems that this boy is telling the truth. From his actions just now, you can tell that those things are very delicious. But there are really a lot of people selling things around here. Uchiha Matsuzaki looked at the things around him, and then thought to himself with a smile. Okay, stop talking. I'm even hungrier now that I'm talking about it. Let's hurry up. Hua Wu couldn't wait at this time. In this way, the 5 of them followed Ibaraki Shaoli to the first place selling sushi. That's what I'm saying. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get enough of what I recommend. Ibaraki Shaoli said proudly. Boss, bring me 2 portions of salmon. Uchiha Matsuzaki saw that several of them were already scrambling to order food, and he could only smile helplessly. Look at how hungry they are already. Let them hurry up and eat something. This tastes really delicious, Uchiha Matsuzaki said with a smile. Soon all of them had ordered what they wanted to eat, and the boss was very busy now. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.